doing the government. Okay, so every day I hear it, I get text messages. Now I have text messages today. I'll read to you that the people are trying to come after you. They are trying to arrest. I say, who is trying to do that? What? I've not done anything wrong. He said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do wrong because now we have conversations. Who are the people involved in trying to arrest Paul Adumoche and others? Samuel Jamefi, especially Johnson Asidun Ketia. I'll tell you why. Fifi Kwete wants me arrested and taught a lesson. We know why. Samuel Nate George, I'm quite surprised he's part of it, but it happens like that. Joyce Bauer also, perhaps we can understand why. Now, let me start with Samuel Jamefi and talk about what happened, what I know I've been told happened. Okay. So, yeah, they'll put this photograph there and then I'll deal with it. So, this is Samuel Jamefi, who is a gold board man. Now, Samuel Jamefi was heard on a phone conversation. You know, he was heard on a phone conversation talking. And he said, the person asked him, what about Paul Adumoche? He said, oh, we'll ask for him. We finished with him. We have him already. I said, how do you have him? He said, oh. He said, I thought that with him. He said, no, but that, it doesn't matter. You just have to say that he's done something wrong at airports, Ghana Airport Company. What do you have to say is done wrong? Say that he's done diversion of funds. Say anything about money. That there's some money we are investigating. There's airport money we are investigating. He has diverted funds. And then you can go and arrest him and you should shut up and stop fooling on TV. I hear that word was used many times in the conversation. He's fooling on TV. He's fooling on TV. Samuel Jamefi. I hope it's not true. I believe it's not true, and I hope it's not true. But this is, I get text. I'm going to read some of the text to you. This diversion of funds is on my phone. Everybody's sending to me that, hey, about how can board chairman divert funds? A board chairman cannot divert funds. But when he was told in the conversation, apparently, as I've been told, he said that it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't matter. You just airport. So go and arrest him. You go and raid his house at Teshin. While people are sitting down, the man has showed you where his house is and he's bragging on TV that his house is Teshin. Go and raid it and let him shut up and stop fooling. So they say that the target is this weekend. Maybe the Islamic holiday is coming. Take him and then after that you release him after 2 days and let him go. But by the time you catch him, you teach him a lesson. And then, or if you don't get the Islamic weekend, the Easter weekend, you pick him on Thursdays till Monday, whatever. I heard it. It's not. I'm not the only one on the list. I'll show you the other people on the list. Now, for my uncle Johnson Asidun Ketia, his reason for having me taught a lesson, having Paul Adumoche to be taught a lesson in the police cells, is that he wants to be the next president of Ghana. Everybody knows that, and he sees me as a media opponent. So for him to be the next president of Ghana, first of all, to win the NDC nomination in 2027 and then become the next president of Ghana, I must be taken off the TV. So apparently they've asked people that take him off the TV. They say, which TV? Okay, well, that's another story. But then he says, go and catch him, go and catch him. I mean, you can use anything, just catch him and put him and teach him a lesson. And then I've been told that the police people, when they catch me, they will tell me that when you go out, don't say anything about Johnson Asidun Ketia. If you want your freedom and your peace of mind, don't say anything about the NDC party chairman. Because he wants to be the next president of Ghana, which is fair. It's okay, it's fine. He's done a good job. He can be president of Ghana. But he sees this as presidential ambition as being, who could be affected if they allow this foolish boy on TV talking rubbish every day on that his nonsense touch screen. Please, viewers, the touch screen nonsense, I don't know. But this is the intention of the chairman, I hear. Honorable Chairman, I don't believe it. Because when I met you at the Kumasi airport in the heat of the campaign, we looked like we are cordial. So I don't know where this is coming from that I should be. If you want to be president of Ghana and you can be president of Ghana, why not? No journalist will have a problem with that. Not me, not anybody. But our work is to say what we know. And then, so that is, I hear Johnson Asidun Ketia is insisting. The meeting happened. He's insisting that this guy is going to ruin this ambition. I don't even have power to ruin it. If I had power to ruin something, I would have had power to ruin the John Mahama's presidency. But John Mahama won a clean, clear, massive victory in spite of everything I said about him. So a journalist cannot ruin a presidential. But I think Johnson Asidun Ketia is quite angry with everything that I've said about him. The one who is most angry is this man. Apparently, he said that, Charlie, why are you talking about arrest him and let him go? Arrest him and charge him. Let him be going to court every day. If after 4 years he wins the case, up to him. Let Ghanaians know that he has done something wrong. It doesn't matter whether he has done it or not. He was airport chairman. That's all we need. You should just put him inside and let him go to court every day. Every day he's going to court. He cannot come and do that his program and be sitting on TV and talking. Take him to court. I hear he's very, very angry. Very angry with Paul Ademochi. He's so angry that they have come to power and Paul Ademochi is still on TV talking. That they are in power. We are in power and this fool is still on TV talking. I hear those were his words. I don't understand. I don't know. Well, I'm not surprised, but I'm also surprised. I am not surprised and I'm also surprised. So, Honorable, I greet you, sir. And then, as for Sam George, they said he was there. He happened to be there. He didn't say much. But one thing that he said, which is important, is I said, well, Paul Ademochi has brought that upon himself. Then, in the Sam George conversation, somebody said that, oh, but people don't do that. His son and my son are in the same class. Then that's why Sam George said, then the son should tell his father that he should stop fooling on TV. The son should tell his father that he should stop fooling on TV. Fooling on TV. Good Evening Ghana is fooling on TV. Sam George has appeared on this show before. He's appeared on the Good Evening. The one that is fooling on TV, he's appeared on the show before. And the circumstances under which Sam George appeared on the show, one day I'll tell you, I got a call from a very, very important person who said the show had already started. Good Evening Ghana had already started. This was in Laboni. This is before 2020. Good Evening Ghana had already started. I think Akufo-Addo was president. Good Evening Ghana, no, Akufo-Addo was not president. Good Evening Ghana has started. And a very, very important person called me and said that you must have Sam George on your show right now. And I said, oh, boss, the show has already started. Can we do it? Said no. I took a break, took the call because the call was coming. Very important person. I stopped, took the call, and he said, Paulus, Sam George is coming now. And I said, Ish. I said, okay. I called my police. I said, look, we have a problem, but this is a very important call. Sam George is coming, so he will come. He came, and he joined the show midway, and he had his say. I understand that he is saying that tell your friend's child to tell his son that he should tell his father to stop fooling. But it's about power, isn't it? Hey, my lady. As for my lady, I can understand why she will encourage, go and arrest Paul Ademochi and teach him a lesson. Go and arrest him and teach him a lesson. And then go and say that there has been diversion of funds at airports. Diversion of funds. You see, they believe that when people hear diversion of funds, they will think that maybe he's done something. You say airports, they sika or in Tibia, maybe you fast can be no so no yes sir. That's what they are believing, that Ghanaians, when he says diversion of funds, they will understand it because they know the MP people, they are thieves. They've chopped all the money. MPP are thieves. Is it not somebody who has bought 27 houses? Then they'll say that about Paul, he has one house attention. That's all. He's been there. Say it doesn't matter. Let's say that he has diverted funds. It's okay. So I don't know, but this is the story. I mean, the text messages on my phone. I forwarded it to those who want to see it. I forwarded it to them, and they are all calling me and say, there's another person involved that I'm too embarrassed to add the person's name. No, it's not that the person is high profile, but I know the person so well. The person lives at East Legon, near the, if I say the near there, everybody will see. Sammy, Jennifer, how are you? Gold board. He is the boss of the gold board. So viewers, this is what we are up against. For standing here and running the show and being critical of the NDC, a group of very powerful people. Johnson Asiedu Ketia is one of the most powerful men in Ghana today. Fifi Kwete has become very powerful because the General Secretary of the NDC. Sam George is powerful. He's controlling communications. He can cut your line. He can block your line. He can do anything he wants. Joyce Bawa is very, very powerful. Some people call her the Prime Ministress. And they sit down and they say that you, Paul Ademochi, you see what we'll do to you. You should go and catch him. Tell the police he's afraid of Jakpa. Now he's afraid of Jakpa. They should go and catch him. Anyway, in the spirit of Eid al-Fitr, we say that happy Eid to all our Eid al-Fitr brothers. Let's have an Islamic prayer.
Allahumma arhamna bil Qur'an waj'alhu lana imaman wa nuran wa hudan wa rahma. Allahumma dhakkirna minhu ma nusina وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا ورزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين اللهم إنا نسألك الخير المسألة وخير الدعاء وخير النجاة وخير العلم وخير الأمل وخير الثواب وخير الحياة وثبتنا وثكل موازيننا وهكك إيماننا ورفع درجاتنا وتقبل صلاتنا واغفر خطايانا ونسألك العلا من الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الخير في الغانا ونسألك الخير في الغانا ونعوذ بك من شرها وشر ما بعدها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amen. Amen. The other people they are thinking about of silencing is our friend Kojo Nkrumah. Kon, how are you? Vincent Asifwa is also on the list. He said that he is talking rubbish. He should silence him and keep him somewhere. I don't know why these things are like that. Samuel Oforesiyama is part of it because if it's about airports, you can't say diversion of funds without also going to find him. The other day, they had him answer questions on Buankra Port, and he did. And everything ended. Okay, as for Gabi Ochidaku, he's always on their list. But when Ablakwa was doing the things he was doing, nobody arrested him. Nobody. He went to Shraj, he went to here, he went to here. When I was at airport, I was taken to Shraj. I went to Shraj, I answered the questions. The Shraj gave their ruling. I don't know why somebody must feel that because you are talking against them on TV, they should go and arrest you, raid your house, teach you a lesson, and tell you that never mention Johnson Asedu Nkatiah's name. Anyway, not much more to say. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for staying tuned to the show. All right, you can still send your text messages, even though tonight we're also on holiday, so we're not reading text messages. You can send your text messages on that story. Now, though, let's get some legal education. You know, we've been talking about Article 146, Clause 3, and Clause 6. Those are the most important constitutional articles relating to the impeachment of the Lord Chief Justice. As it is, the matter is pending, as you know. Taddiosori has written a very long article, but it's very interesting about the process. We're going on the touch screen now and listen to the analysis of what Taddiosori wrote, and then you can educate yourself as we build this democracy together. Have a look. Now, viewers, here is an update of the CJ situation. You know that President Mahama has now sent the documents to the Lord Chief Justice and given her 10 days to respond. But another account of the matter has been rendered by the lawyer Taddiosori. Taddiosori, we all respect, has been a very senior barrister, and I used to see him regularly back in the day. We had a joint friend, a common friend that I used to go to their chambers. He used to work with Ambrose Derry. Yes, the MPP Ambrose Derry. That's where Taddiosori was. Taddiosori, even in those days, I was much younger, but in those days, the older people were saying that he's going to be a very bright, very, very bright barrister, and he has lived up to his billing. During the 2010 World Cup, I sort of stayed with him in the same place in South Africa when we were supporting the Black Stars. So I know him well, and he's very well respected. He also represented me by the kind courtesy of Mr. Isaac Osei in court when I had done an interview of Temaol Refinery, and Dr. Akoto has sued Isaac Osei, the then chief executive of Temaol Refinery, and his lawyer was Taddios. I was sued as Good Evening Ghana, publishing the story of defamation. Taddios represented us superly well, very, very well. Now, Taddios has given an opinion on what is happening, and it's a very interesting opinion. I'd like to share it with you, viewers, and that's why I've given you his background. And when he gives an opinion, it ought to be taken very seriously. So let's look at what he says about the Chief Justice, potential removal of the Chief Justice. Let's see what he says. On the eve of Tuesday, March 25, 2025, social media reports indicated that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, had forwarded 3 petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice to the Council of State. This step is a constitutional requirement under Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution, which states, etc., etc. We know that already. Let's move on. 2, he says, 2 days later, at 9:20 a.m. on Thursday, March 27, 2025, the Honorable Vincent Ekwasifwa of Old Tafo in Kumasi filed an action at the Supreme Court challenging the President's referral of the petitions to the Council of State. 3, he says, Mr. Asifwa argues that the President is required under Article 1461, 2, 4, 6, and 7, 23, 57, 3, and 296 of the Constitution to notify the Chief Justice about a petition for her removal and obtain her comments and responses before referring the petition to the Council of State or commencing consultations with the Council of State, unquote. 4, this is still Taddiosori writing. This claim raises a number of intriguing questions. Now, this is where the meat really is. So, Mr. Sori is asking these questions. 1, how did Mr. Asifwa, within just 1 day, ascertain that the Chief Justice was not consulted before the petitions were referred to the Council of State? He says, did the Chief Justice personally inform him that she was not consulted? That may be the case. Okay. 3, was there any media report confirming that the Chief Justice had been bypassed in the process? Well, by the time Taddiosori was writing this document, the Chief Justice's letter to the Council of State had not gone out yet, and then later it went out. So we all know that what Asifwa was alluding to is true. But Taddiosori is also alluding to something, that what was going on between the Chief Justice office and the MP's situation. How did they connect to know that she had not been told? But that has already come out. CJ herself has come out. But let's move on with Taddiosori. 5, he says, and Godfrey Dami as his lawyer, question mark. As the musician Joseph of Culture says, this is neither a jigsaw nor a puzzle. Things are falling into place. We either survive together or we perish together. So Taddiosori is suspecting that this whole application to the Supreme Court was sort of a connection between Madam's office, Asifwa, and perhaps Godfrey Dami, and etc. Okay, let's move on. What does he say? That aside, and it has to really be aside, and I agree with Taddiosori that should be aside. Yes, that's an aside. That aside, only Article 1466 is relevant in the determining whether the President was required to seek the Chief Justice's comments before consulting the Council of State. Now, this is why I like Taddiosori's brain. So he's now coming to deal with the law. So the gossip is okay. We all can gossip. That's fine. How did Vincent know Godfrey Dami? Here's a gossip. Aside. Now let's deal with the law. He says that it is only Article 1466 that is relevant in determining whether the President was required to seek the Chief Justice's comments before consulting the Council of State or not. Now, I'm raising this issue because on the program on Good Evening Ghana, my producer lawyer was concerned that it's not just Article 1466, but it has to be Article 1466 and the decision in Ajay-Chum, the Supreme Court case decision in Ajay-Chum, which had to do with Justice Akwe's impeachment. Those two are the things that are relevant here. Taddiosori takes a completely different legal position, as you can see. Very interesting, isn't it? Taddio says that it is only Article 1466, nothing more, nothing less. Whether the Supreme Court has ruled in something, it is not part of the 1992 Constitution. That's what he's saying. Because the rulings of the Supreme Court can change. The Supreme Court can depart from their rulings. Article 146, nobody can change it. Nobody can depart from it. If you are making a decision about impeachment of a Chief Justice, you would have to rely on Article 1466. You can't do anything about it. Whether Dateba said this or he said that, or Justice Redu said this, or Justice Amwasechi said this, yeah, all that is fine. But they are not provisions of the 1992 Constitution. This is where the meat is. He says, Article 14 is the only one relevant. Then 7, Article 1466, in clear and unambiguous terms, states that when a petition concerns the removal of the Chief Justice, the President must act in consultation with the Council of State. Then he comes to 8. He says, in Ajay-Chum vs. Attorney General and Akwete, Justice Dateba, speaking for the Supreme Court, held that just like other justices of the Supreme Court, a prima facie case must be established against the Chief Justice before a committee is empaneled to investigate the petition. Now, let's see how Taddiosori then deals with the Ajay-Chum matter. Very, very interesting. I told you that he's a very brilliant lawyer. Let's go on. 9. However, he says, the Ajay-Chum case did not specify how the prima facie determination should be made. What is certain, he says, however, is that the President must act in consultation with the Council of State. Full stop. The President's decision, Taddiosori says, to refer the petitions to the Council of State is therefore, in strict compliance with the Constitution. Very interesting. He said the president has done nothing wrong by sending the petition to the Council of State, because that is what Article 1466 asks him to do. And that's what he has done. That is the only certainty in Article 1466, that yes, a prima facie case ought to be made. But in transmitting the petition from his desk to the Council of State, His Excellency the President has done nothing wrong. This will be the subject matter of the thing in court. Whether in transmitting the document from his desk to the Council of State, the President of Ghana ignored one of the constitutional steps in the process. That's the question the court will have to answer. Did the President of Ghana ignore an important constitutional step in the process of this impeachment by transmitting the document from his desk to the Council of State without first of all getting comments from His Lordship the Chief Justice? Let's move on. So he says Ejechum did not specify how the prima facie determination should be made. What is certain is that the president must act in consultation with the council. That's what he did. Number 10, he says the following questions expose the suit for what it is. It is a much ado about nothing. Taddiosori here says that the suit that is before the court is a much ado about nothing. Let's see why he says that. Let's move on. He says 10I of his document. If the Constitution explicitly states that where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall act in consultation with the Council of State, it is unconstitutional for the President to refer the petition to the Council of State. Hey, he says, is it? Sorry, let's take it again. If the Constitution explicitly states that where the petition is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall act in consultation with the Council of State, is it unconstitutional for the President to refer the petitions to the Council of State? Question mark. Isn't the referral the first logical step in discussing the prima facie determination and the procedure for it? Should the President unilaterally decide on the petitions without engaging the Council of State as mandated? Important questions. Next question. Does referring the petition to the Council of State amounts to a prima facie determination without giving the Chief Justice a hearing? Question mark. Does this referral prevent the Chief Justice from later providing her comments on the petitions? Question mark. 11. Taddiosori goes on. In the first petition, the former president's response suggested that the Council of State had been consulted before the determination that no prima facie case had been made against the Chief Justice. That's the Akufo-Addo petition. 12. He says, yet the president's letter to Professor Kwesi does not indicate that the Chief Justice was asked for her comments before that determination was made. 13. The Chief Justice believes in the law. There is no need for presumptive protection. Every Ghanaian believes in the law. So I'm not sure what 13 here means, but he's suggesting that the Chief Justice is finding some protection somewhere, maybe through the court or something like that. Because it says that if she believes in the law, there's no need for a presumptive protection. 14, he says, the law requires that the president act in consultation with the Council of State. That consultation is currently ongoing. Let the process unfold. The Council of State has its own esteemed legal minds. Trust them as much as you have always asked us to trust you. Hey, that one is heavy. Taddiosori is asking the Chief Justice that you have been asking us to trust you. You know that there are lawyers there, including Sophia Kufu, including Jasadinira, including Doajao. They are all lawyers. Trust them. Trust them to come to a proper legal decision. Don't worry about it. That's what Taddiosori is telling the Chief Justice. It goes on. To proxy Asifwa, well, those are Taddiosori's words, and they are a bit harsh, so those are not our words. To proxy Asifwa, let me offer a lesson from the Acts of the Apostles, and I like this. Acts of the Apostles. In Acts chapter 5, Peter and his fellow apostles faced intimidation aimed at silencing their mission. Yet, despite the threats, they persisted in preaching the gospel without seeking legal recourse. 16, he says, when they were eventually arrested and brought before the high priest, Gamaliel, a respected Pharisee, offered wise counsel. He reminded his colleagues of Thaddeus and Judas, two men who falsely claimed divine backing but ultimately perished. Gamaliel then gives this timeless advice in Acts chapter 5 verse 38 to 39. Refrain from these men and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of God, ye cannot overthrow it, lest ye be found even to fight against God. This is a scripture that we have all used for great consequence, where you are focused on something and you know that this is from God and you know that nobody can touch it. 18, he says, so be it, honorable, he's referring to Mr. Asefua as proxy. He says, so be it, leave the petitioners alone, for if their counsel or work to be of men, their petitions will come to naught. But if be of God, and their cause is just, no court action can overthrow it. That was Taddiosori's epistle as far as the ongoing legal, is it a battle? The ongoing legal situation unfolding between the Lord Chief Justice and the petitioners who have sent a petition to President Mahama for her removal. I wanted to put out Taddiosori so that you can see and chew on it. Send me a text message or write on our Facebook page what you think about this article. Good evening to President Mahama and good evening to Justice Tokonu. May the Lord be with the Lord Chief Justice. That was brilliant and interesting, wasn't it? Let's see what happens. Now, this thing makes me sad, as I've said, and you've seen the video on social media. Ras Mubarak says something that is terrible. I don't think that we should encourage this in this country. But this is divided for you in two parts. Let's see the first part in terms of the general introduction about Ras Mubarak and why he shouldn't have said what he said. Let's see that one now. That's just about 9 minutes long. Let's see that. I've been following this story and it makes me sick. It makes me feel very, very bad. This is Ambassador Kwesi Pratt, my good friend, Nkrumah Pratt, the spokesperson to the Vice President. Kwame Danso, of all the people here, Kwame Danso is my favorite person. Kwame Danso, I like the guy's spirit, man. I like him. People called me and they say, oh, have you heard what Kwame Danso is saying about you? I say, oh, Kwame Danso is my brother. He can say anything he wants to say about me. There's no problem. Fine. Kwame, how are you? And Ras Mubarak. I'm viewers, I'm sure you've seen the story. And it makes me sick. I want to say something about it. I do not like and I do not endorse the way Ras Mubarak described Kwesi Pratt. I do not endorse it. It's not correct. It's not good. A person of Ras Mubarak's level, young, brilliant as he may be, enterprising, should not have the effrontery, the temerity to speak about Kwesi Pratt the way he did. If Kwesi Pratt wants to be ambassador in any country for Ghana, especially Moscow, Zagreb, 71-year-old Kwesi Pratt, who has, I mean, those of us who are my age, old like me, how long have we been hearing Kwesi Pratt's voice? The first time I encountered Kwesi Pratt was in 1996. I had not started doing media yet. And I heard him on Joy FM saying that we need all the deselected candidates to step aside. I didn't quite understand it. He said the deselected candidates. You know, then later on when I studied political science, I now understood what Kwesi Pratt was saying. In 1996, there was an alliance. Nkrumah and MPP and CPP went into an alliance. It was chaired by Alhaji Banda, may he rest in peace. And the MPP side was led by John Kufuor. It's in our videos. The alliance has decided that they will select candidates for the various parliamentary seats, especially in Accra. Kwesi Pratt had won the alliance admiration. The alliance included Peter Alajete, George Hagen, Agude from the CPP, Alhaji Banda, John Kufuor, Nana Akufo-Addo, Kweku Bako. All of them were in the alliance. And the alliance had been favorable to Kwesi Pratt's candidature in Kwesi constituency, the place that Henry Quartey was defeated. There. Kwesi Pratt was going to be the member of parliament in 1996 for the alliance. And the alliance had selected him. Sheikh Kwesi, who had been candidate in that parliamentary, an MP in the same constituency in 1969 and I believe 1979, believed that the place was for him. So he was running a parallel campaign, even though he was MPP and he had not been selected by the alliance people. He said that was his seat. So Kwesi Pratt said, deselected candidates should step aside. I remember that very well. Now put everybody on again. No, I don't have much to say about Nkrumah today. Put everybody on again. Let me show them. So this is where we are coming from, viewers. We shouldn't be building a democracy where Ras Mubarak, whether he's right, whether what he's saying is true, should be able to say those things about Kwesi Pratt. Let's first see the video Kwesi Pratt put out that annoyed Ras Mubarak. Let's have a look.
Begin to look at expertise, people's commitment to the nation and so on. That goes beyond party affiliation. You know, sometimes I get a sense that our politics has become like a war of gangs. You know, a war of criminal gangs. So one of them has captured some territory and is benefiting from it. If you manage to defeat that criminal gang, you establish your domain there like a mafia, and you take control of everything for yourself, regardless of the national interest. And it's a danger that this country faces. This country must be governed as a country. It is one nation of one people with one common destiny. We need to revisit that slogan which General Achampong in his wisdom introduced. What is happening? My friend, what is happening in our country? So what about those who do not belong to political parties? They are not human beings anymore. So in our country today, if you do not belong to a political party, if you are not a member of a political party, you lose all your rights as a citizen. What nonsense is that? And then, so what? You know, we help you to win election and therefore we have an entitlement. You have what entitlement? This country, and Senna, listen to me very, very well. We went to an election. We elected President John Dramani Mahama as the chief manager of the affairs of this country. We did not sell Ghana to him. Ghana does not belong to him. Ghana does not belong to the NDC. Ghana did not belong to the MPP, and Ghana would never belong to the CPP. What we do when we go for elections is that we elect managers, and they are supposed to manage this country on behalf of all the citizens of the country. If they fail to do that, they cease to qualify as governments. And we must approach this fight against Galamsey with the same vehemence and within the same principle and so on. That's the only way we can move forward.
So that's what Kwesi Pratt said. We came here on Good Evening Ghana and congratulated him for speaking like that. I mean, viewers, I'm very, very sick on this matter, because if all of us sit down, all of us old people, young people, we all sit down and allow the young Ras Mubarak to tear down Kwesi Pratt in this manner, it will come to bite all of us. I like Ras Mubarak, but I like Kwesi Pratt more. Not because he's a better human being, not because he's older. Kwesi Pratt has substance. I mean, Kwesi Pratt has substance. We don't agree. I'm MPP, I don't know whether he's NDC or CPP. I'm right wing. He is left. Kwesi Pratt is at the end of the left. I'm not even at the end of the right. I'm middle small. Kwesi Pratt is at the end of the left. And I used to tease here and Akoto Ampao and all that. But Kwesi Pratt has substance. Almost every important thing, and I've written a book about the history of Ghana, so please credit me, but okay. I'm not giving Kwesi Pratt a copy, I'll send one to him. Go back, your copy is coming. Almost every major epochal political event that has happened in Ghana since 1980, Kwesi Pratt has been in it. Kwesi Pratt was one of the few people. I was a toddler then, they told me, and I came to read it. In 1981, when the 31st December coup occurred, do you know what happened? In January, first week in January 1982, I don't even know whether Nkrumah Pratt was born. I think she wasn't born. Kwesi Pratt risked his life with some people going around Accra denouncing the coup of J.J. Rawlings. Kwesi Pratt Jr. In January 1982, they took a car, running in pickup, showing their face. They were there, denouncing the revolution. That's what they arrested them. I have videos, and viewers, I'll show you that video. I've told him before. I have a video of Kwesi Pratt, J.A. Kufuor, and Professor Dubois at National Public Tribunal. I'll show it next week Thursday. I'll show it. Kwesi Pratt Jr., John Ajekum Kufuor, and Professor Dubois, they were together at a public tribunal. I think I've told Kwame Dan so that I have that video. I need to give it to him. I have to give it to Kwesi Pratt's family. I have the video. I got it from GBC. So we shouldn't sit in this country. Ras Mubarak writes anything about Kwesi Pratt and everybody is quiet. Everybody is quiet. It shouldn't happen like that. We can be MPP and NDC, but certain principle. I fight Kwesi Pratt every now and then. He sends me text and say, "Oh, foolish boy, get away from there." Da 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 da. It's okay. I've told him to invite me to Alaji and Alaji. I'm sure I'll be appearing soon with Kwame Danso. If Kwesi Pratt wants to be an ambassador for Ghana, what is wrong with it? He doesn't deserve it. What is the problem? All of us should want Kwesi Pratt to be an ambassador for Ghana. Because if there are few people who understand Ghana, Kwesi Pratt is one of them. I'm sure that when Akufo-Addo was president, if there was an opportunity to appoint Kwesi Pratt as an ambassador, he would have done it. I'm sure that when Kufuor was president, if there was an opportunity to appoint Kwesi Pratt as ambassador, he would have done it. I'm sure that when Mills was president, if there was opportunity to appoint Kwesi Pratt as ambassador, he would have done it. The only person I can't say would have done it may have been Rawlings, because Rawlings had imprisoned Kwesi Pratt so many times. I'm not sure how he was going to appoint him as an ambassador. But viewers, this is a very serious matter. We shouldn't allow Ras Mubarak to run Kwesi Pratt down the way he did. Kwame also responded, but I'm not sure whether his response is right. So that was our own introduction from our own perspective. Now let's get to the document about what Ras Mubarak actually said, so that you can decide as a viewer to either agree with me or disagree with me. Whichever way, please express your sentiments on our Facebook page, Good Evening Ghana Official. This is actually what Ras Mubarak wrote. Ras Mubarak wrote this: "Your daughter is in government and you are complaining we are appointing NDC members. You cannot be more entitled to appointment as a neutral than..." Kwesi Pratt is not a neutral. He's a left-winger. He's not a... Kwesi Pratt is not neutral at all. He's a left-wing political philosopher. Full stop. He's not a neutral. He's left-wing. Very left-wing. If the NDC is left, then he's with them. Okay. You cannot be more entitled to appointments as a neutral and a party member who is paid his or her dues, blah, blah, blah. Someone can't sit on the fence and expect to eat of the fruits of another person's labor. For the record, Mr. Pratt was in Namibia as part of a delegation. How many NDC members, since we have won, since we have had such a privilege? Hey, how many NDC members since we won have had such a privilege? Now let me say something to Ras Mubarak. I'm sorry this video is getting long, but let me say something to Ras Mubarak. If there are few people who has organized the relationship between the Republic of Ghana and the Southwest African People's Organization, led by Sam Nkrumah, it is Kwesi Pratt. If there are few people who have created a cordial relationship between the Republic of Ghana and the SWAPO, Southwest African People's Organization, it is Kwesi Pratt. If today Sam Nkrumah is dead and I'm president of Ghana, the first person I will call when I'm going to the funeral is Kwesi Pratt. If Raul Castro dies in Cuba and I'm president of Ghana and I'm going for the funeral, the first person I will call is Kwesi Pratt. If they say that they have constructed a new statue in London of Vladimir Lenin and I'm president of Ghana and I have to attend the event, the first person I'll call to go with me is Kwesi Pratt. So I don't know where Ras Mubarak, I don't know whether he doesn't have the history that if Sam Nkrumah is dead and a delegation of Ghana goes there without Kwesi Pratt, that's a faux pas. Please, we are all partisan one way or the other. But let's understand that certain things in our society must be protected. Ras Mubarak should not be allowed to tear Kwesi Pratt down, and we are all watching. It should only Kwame Danso is responding. We should never allow this. By now, I should have expected Guzitano, Cheche Poku, Huduyaya. I've expected them to call Ras Mubarak to order that you may have a case, but you can't talk about Kwesi Pratt in that manner. Let us build our society in a better way, viewers. Let's stop this thing. He goes on. For the record, Mr. Pratt was in Namibia. Okay, he said that. Secondly, Mr. Pratt's relative, who is not NDC as far as I know, never seen his daughter spend days villages like many of our equally qualified party women, canvassing for votes, whose husband pilloried us and encouraged people to vote for Alan. If there's any government since JJ that's recognized more neutrals and non-NDC members, it is this government. Now hold it there. Hold it there. Let me do the analysis. Hold it there. We have to divide this video into two parts. Hold it there. Let me do the analysis. Ras Mubarak says that if there is any government since JJ Rawlings that's recognized more neutrals in NDC than its members, it is this government. Now hold it there. Look at NDC's history in 1992 politics. Which one has been the most successful government of the NDC? It's JJ Rawlings. JJ Rawlings' two-term has been the most successful NDC period in government. Professor Mills's Professor Mills one term and John Mahama one term was not the most successful NDC government compared to the JJ Rawlings. So Ras Mubarak, if you are NDC and you see a government doing something that mimics JJ Rawlings, and JJ Rawlings was the most successful, voila, your government is going to be good. I don't think he recognizes these things. Ras Mubarak, I love you, but don't do this. See, so what's the noise about? Ambassadorial appointments at the chagrin of party members. He should cut us some slack. If positions are given to party members, they are deserving of it. Does he know the number of qualified party members, etc., etc.? Let me also clarify this, viewers. It's very important. There are those who work as foot soldiers for the party to win. They have to be recognized. They don't always have to be recognized by appointments. Appointments must gear towards the person's suitability. I don't want to use the word qualification. Appointments must gear towards the person's suitability. So party soldiers, party foot soldiers must be recognized. Bobby, are you with me? Bobby, to say, you know, you and I, we all like Julius Deborah, so we shouldn't fight. And Bobby, now you are in power. There's no problem. You are in power and you are full. So don't worry. So what was I saying before I brought Bobby Ansah? Party people. Bobby Ansah has not received any appointment. He is a foot soldier of the party. He's okay with it. But he must be recognized. The party cannot throw him away. If you don't give him appointment, you give him something he wants to do. Maybe he wants a radio station license. You must give it to him. Maybe he wants a TV station license. You must give it to him. He doesn't want to be minister, but he's a party person who has worked for the party. If he's a businessman, you let him do his books correctly, have his bank, give him a supply contract somewhere, so that you can manage all the party foot soldiers. But appointments, dear, it should be geared towards those who are suitably qualified for it. Ras Mubarak, I beg you, let's recognize these things. The party people who are in the villages, they need to be recognized. John Mahama will recognize them. I'm sure John Mahama knows it. He will recognize them. But appointments, we have to be careful about it. Okay. Let's move on to what the last thing. It says, NDC members who can do a better job than Amma Pratt. He says, I'm sorry, Amma. Really sorry, because you're a nice person, but Mr. Pratt's crass hypocrisy. I don't know what is hypocrisy about what Kwesi Pratt is saying. What's the hypocrisy? He says that party foot soldiers are saying they deserve a job, something. It's not proper. Ghana belongs to everyone. The fact that somebody has won election doesn't mean that those who are not members of the party their rights is gone. In fact, he said that if you are not a member of a political party, have you lost your rights? No, you haven't. And now it is as if you are not a member of the ruling party, then you have lost your rights as a human being, as a Ghanaian. That's not correct. It's not correct in MPP. It's not correct in NDC, and we should abhor it. So Ras Mubarak, don't take us back. Let's move forward. I mean, this is sad. This is sad. Mr. Pratt is not more leftist than Honorable Kofi Ato or Alhaji Hudu Yahya. He is not hard left and more patriotic than any of us. Why were the respectable senior party people not asked to accompany the VIP to Namibia? You get all of these courtesies and still rub it in by calling us a band of criminals. Kwesi Pratt didn't say that NDC is a band of criminals. He said that the way the political parties do it, it looks like they're a band of criminals. I mean, this is sad. Can you put the 4 pictures again? Let me end it. I don't like this. Ras Mubarak, please come again. Ras Mubarak, I beg you, come back and apologize. Kwame Naso responded. I don't want to go there. Kwame Naso, your response was too harsh, but I can understand. I mean, if somebody is hitting your lady like that, you will be sad about it. I understand, Kwame Naso. But I beg you, you tell our father that we beg for Ras Mubarak. We are sorry about it. He should never be able to say that. Ras Mubarak should never be able to talk about Kwesi Pratt like that. Anyway. So let's share our opinions. We don't always have to agree, but this is my view on what Ras Mubarak did. You can disagree and send to me what you want. Now we are going to relax you even more on this holiday. We're going to show you the film, a famous independence film entitled From Gold Coast to Ghana, A Glorious History of Self-Determination. We'll be showing to you tonight. I thank you to GTV for showing this film most of the Ghana month in March. I'm very excited to have seen people sending me texts that GBC is showing your film. I was so delighted, so happy about it. Thank you, GBC. Show more of our films. We have a film on the election petition. We have a film on the Yana. We have a film on 4th August. Show it, GBC. Show it, okay? All right, so we are going to show you that film now. From Gold Coast to Ghana, A Glorious History of Self-Determination. Before then, though, we take a short break for tonight's edition of the program. But as today is a Salah, before we take the break, let's do the Islamic prayer. After that, we'll lead to the break. After the break, we'll come back here and lead you to the movie house.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك الخير المسألة وخير الدعاء وخير النجاة وخير العلم وخير الأمل وخير الثواب وخير الحياة. وثبتنا وثقل موازيننا وهكه إيماننا ورفع درجاتنا وتقبل صلاتنا واغفر خطايانا ونسألك العلا من الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الخير في الغانا ونسألك الخير في الغانا ونعوذ بك من شرها وشر ما بعدها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amen.
There's nothing worse than your multi-bet missing, but nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver. Here's Kwame and Yao with your bet misses.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson, Asamo.
Me didn't tum. Mr. Femi Kalika, just call me cockroach. Mr. Femi once now. Hey, is that you? Improve car. Yeah. Captain Mosquito, double the accent. Maybe it's so spray. Mr. Femi is so cool. Yeah, cool, Mr. Come tum preko.
I'm a branch manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ash Room and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
With Como Collection, dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como Collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it.
You're the answer to my prayer. You're with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know tonight.
So what about what your papa
This is my secret. Give us P capsules. Emma, I want to go from now on to me to my dear one pen. Give us P capsules. Over do us, Mama. Oh no, enemy lawyer.
Ah, and to lawyer no na show bottom. Are you pro? Are you pro? They na pon me see ba be tia mo a e se ni die.
Busano.
No. You get if you are coming. The friend give us cold capsules. Say yes, is yare na wo so. Ko di do ni pedem wani na wo posa amamai enti na wunja wunan yi. Unum give us cold capsules. Obey free.
Lawyer,
give us cold capsules.
And give us P capsules.
Hey, and give us free.
Capsules.
And remember what if you do what you do, Kronkwan, Efra. Give us core capsules. A pay for a batter, one more menu for one and Quadawin if you do me and come.
Attention all farmers. Are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and Iricop brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa, and the Iricop with cocoa blends, palm blend and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP and Iricop organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by Cocoa Board, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Krachi, unemu bua unkoisha Dr. Ba uye denwa.
Oh, Mr. Yamfani ko ami buru wa.
Ma mi ko buru. Ko ni atele be ko. Bra, mi yamfani ko Dr. Ba ho. Dr. Ba no ya de. Bra, se pa no mpemu adwuma, sasabro sro Dr. Ba oye.
Hey, me kona meka. Oh, no mpemu nimdi onu ana ye expect nya zanfo no. O akra eni kumasi no mpemu expect yen kan kire.
There's nothing worse than your multi-bet missing, but nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver.
Welcome back from our break. Now, though, we're going to show you the film From Gold Coast to Ghana, A Glorious History of Self-Determination. So we're motivated to put this film together in 2017 when Ghana was turning 60 years old. And all through our lives, We wake up every independence morning and we have to watch a white man's film about Ghana's independence. Some BBC documentary and some voice that was recorded in 1960. So we decided that now that we have learnt a bit, now that we have practiced journalism a bit, let's look at putting the history of Ghana together from our perspective. We're going to tell the story as it is. Some people didn't like it because it's a story that told some negatives about our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, but it's verifiable. And as a film producer or a filmmaker, we put this out for people to criticize it. What we are sure about is that everything we put in this film is true, is real, is documented, is verifiable. Now, without much ado, viewers, take your popcorn and see this, our film, a documentary and about Ghana's independence and subsequently what happened to Ghana's politics. It's entitled From Gold Coast to Ghana, A Glorious History of Self-Determination. Enjoy. The story of Ghana's independence as the first country sub-Sahara to achieve this feat from British colonial rule has many strands to it. At the end of the Second World War, the Allies were successful and Adolf Hitler had been vanquished. The Americans generally preferred a policy to release colonial territory back to the natives. The British had a system that kept decolonization as a sure option. Ghana, then the Gold Coast, was ripe and ready for this experiment. Its population was sufficiently educated, its society was modern, and the Gold Coast was rich. Yes, by 1945, the Gold Coast produced 2/3 of global cocoa. But the story goes back to the 13th century, and in this film, we will tell you the whole story, the ups, the downs, the victories, and the successes of Ghana's independence struggle.
The West African country of Ghana, formerly the Gold Coast, gained independence from British colonial rule in 1957, but the story of Ghana's self-determination began centuries before that. The partitioning of the Gold Coast between the British and the Dutch occurred in 1872. In that year, the Dutch Gold Coast became a possession of the British Empire. Prior to that, the Portuguese had occupied the coast of Elmina by erecting the Elmina Castle in 1482. The Portuguese remained for 160 years until 1642. The British, however, held the territory for 85 years. The Gold Coast endured European invasion for 475 years in total, from 1482 to 1957.
We are a people descended from forebears who have fought historic battles and endured heroic struggles through time for freedom and dignity and justice. Our coat of arms boldly announces that we value freedom and justice.
There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing the whole affairs.
This Ghana will be defined by integrity, sovereignty, a common ethos, discipline, and shared values. It is one where we aim to be masters of our own destiny, where we mobilize our own resources for the future, breaking the shackles of the Gottesberg colonial economy and the mindset of dependency, bailouts, and extraction. It is a Ghana beyond aid.
Whereas the Portuguese and the Dutch were unsuccessful in exporting their languages to the colony, the British had early success with language. This culminated In the signing of the first agreement that legitimized British imperial rule, it was the Bond of 1844, signed on the 6th of March, 110 years prior to independence.
The Bond of 1844, the basis of British jurisdiction in the Gold Coast. Whereas power and jurisdiction have been exercised for and on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen of Great Britain and Ireland, within diverse countries and places adjacent to Her Majesty's forts and settlements on the Gold Coast, we chiefs of countries and places so referred to, adjacent to such forts and settlements, do hereby acknowledge that power and jurisdiction, and declare that the first objects of law are protection of individuals and property. Human sacrifices and other barbarous customs such as panniering are abominations contrary to law. Murders, robberies and other crimes and offences will be tried and inquired before the Queen's judicial officers and the chiefs of the district, molding the customs of the country to the general principles of British law. Done at Cape Coast Castle before His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor on this 6th day of March in the year of our Lord 1844.
Well, the Bond of 1844 was probably the first formal grant of power to the colonial government then to exercise jurisdiction within certain coastal areas. I mean, a much smaller area than the then Gold or what emerged as the Gold Coast, among some certain fancy chiefs, you know, including, if I may say so, a great grandfather of mine, Nana Otu of Abra. Probably more important for present day purposes is the date on which the agreement was reached, that's right, of 6th March, which was later to be taken as our Independence Day.
In the year of 1850, 6 years after the Bond of 1844 was executed, the Gold Coast became a separate dependency of the British Crown. Separate, that is, from other West African territories.
An ordinance was enacted to establish a legislative council for the Gold Coast, executive council and legislative council. So in a sense, the history goes back to 1850. At first, the governor had only 2 other members in the council, but gradually the scope of the council expanded. Of course, the governor was nominating other people from the Gold Coast.
That meant the governor was directly responsible to London. The Legislative Council, so set up, introduced into the Gold Coast in 1852 the policy of taxation under the leadership of Governor Major S.H. Hill. The purpose for the task was thought to be reasonable and necessary, that in consideration of advantages of protection, natives should contribute to support the government. It was decided that the poll tax would be the most productive, least burdensome, and most equitable. The proceeds from the taxes were to be applied to the public good in education of the people, in general improvement and extension of the judicial system, and to create greater facilities for internal communication and increase medical aid. All these were to be done after such deductions towards payments of stipends to the staff of the Crown and other expenses by or for the Governor-General. The 70 local signatories were led by George Finn Aggrey, Chief of Cape Coast.
The African unofficial members nominated to serve on the Legislative Council: James Bannerman, Merchant and Civil Commandant of Accra; Lieutenant Governor George Kuntu Blankson, Merchant of Cape Coast; Robert Hutchison, Merchant of Cape Coast; Francis Chapman Grant, Merchant of Cape Coast; Samuel Collins Brew, Merchant of Anomabo; George Cleland, Merchant of Accra and Divisional Chief of Jamestown; William Hutchison, Merchant of Cape Coast; John Mensah Saba, Merchant of Anomabo and Cape Coast; James Harry Chitham, merchant of Cape Coast; Chief John Vanderpoy, merchant of Accra and divisional chief of Usher Town; Thomas Hatton Mills, barrister of Accra.
By 1868, the chiefs and the people were increasingly dissatisfied with the political direction of the British imperial authority, and the educated few were now canvassing for the chiefs to draw up measures for self-government and self-defense. Yes, the term self-government was first used in the Gold Coast for political mobilization in 1868, almost 90 years before independence. A call was made out of Mankesim to all people in Cape Coast and elsewhere to mobilize towards self-government. A newspaper called the Gold Coast Methodist Times offered relevant biblical text for the campaign against the bill. It published on its front page, the day after the bill, the following: "Your land, strangers devour it in your presence." Isaiah 1:7 and Nehemiah 5:2. Other men have our land.
The imperial authority introduced a bill in 1897 to compulsorily acquire all unoccupied land within the Gold Coast, termed then as ownerless land. Resistance to this bill was created by the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. This political party, the first to be established in Ghana, was established on 4th August 1897 in the same year of the bill.
John Mensah Saba became an instant intellectual and political hero when he led the thought that there is no such thing as an ownerless land in the Gold Coast, because land in the Gold Coast belonged to the living, the dead, and the yet to be born. The bill was defeated and a new one with amendments was enacted. By doing so, Saba had saved the Gold Coast and the West African territories of the land issues between Ian Smith and Southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. That has bedeviled Southern Africa and even persists till this day. John Mensah Saba and the Aborigines Rights Protection Society had solved a colonial and heritage problem by thinking and talking without firing a gun or riots. Saba therefore wrote his name in the Hall of Fame and thought leadership towards self-government.
The activities of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society enabled a better structured campaign against imperial rule. The entire narrative against colonial rule received a significant boost upon the advent of the First World War, which was fought from 1914 to 1918. For instance, a newspaper in the Gold Coast Nation, had in 1915 asked a question on its front page, quote, "What will be the effect on us natives as regards our condition after the war, from the fact that there were so many black races fighting alongside the whites? Is there any difference in the souls of men who willingly have laid down their lives for the glorious British Empire?" Unquote. This matter became topical when news of the hefty compensation that the British soldiers, dead and alive, had received from the government as compared to the paltry sums or nothing at all received by the natives. The response was that in 1918, soon after the war, Governor Clifford had assured the Legislative Council that opportunities for Africans to serve will be extended. The following year, in 1919, 2 Africans were appointed to the executive levels, but not to very senior positions. They were C.E. Wilhus Bannerman, a barrister, as police magistrate, and Dr. C.E. Randolph as medical officer. Casely Hayford congratulated the government on what he called a tentative step forward. All of these matters occurred pursuant to the Clifford Constitution of 1916.
Oh, the Clifford Constitution was also a good one. It was an improvement on, in fact, it was probably one of the first, that attempted to cover the entire territory of the then Gold Coast. And the whole idea was to make it possible for the colonial government to exploit the people of Ghana, the people of the Gold Coast, and the resources of the Gold Coast at that time.
Governor Clifford was also said to have achieved something significant in the economic modeling of cocoa politics. Here is Gareth Austin of Cambridge University.
For him, the success of cocoa farming in Ghana was a vindication for the argument that it was actually in Britain's interests to leave the land entirely in African ownership. And this was the policy he also pursued when he became Governor General of Nigeria. But the success of Ghanaian cocoa farming, which was very largely by the initiative of Ghanaians such as, of course, Taddiosori, that was the evidence. And this was not simply a kind of moral argument, it was also an argument about what kind of capitalism, in a sense, works best in West Africa, what kind of economy would best satisfy the colonial government's requirement that it generated enough revenue to exceed its costs.
He used our traditional chiefs as well as intelligentsia, that is the educated amongst us, to distill what was best in terms of development and to make sure that they were properly implemented. So in his time, you could see that many of the big names were, somehow brought into the government through entirely democratic means. I mean, sometimes it was by appointment,
The African leadership was, however, not just interested in picking up posts, but intended that Africans should be highly qualified to accept these posts. Hatton Mills and Casely Hayford had, for instance, urged that Africans and Europeans should be submitted to the same qualification examinations. So was Dr. F.K. Bruce, a famous medical practitioner who wanted the highest standards to be set by Africans. This atmosphere created a high demand for quality education from all Ghanaian families in the 1920s, such that Governor Clifford was led to remark as follows, quote, "Never in the course of my experience of the tropics have I found a place where the people were so avid of education. The Gold Coast is the only country I fancy where a schoolboy is more anxious to go to school than his parents are to send him," unquote. Thus, by 1920, education became a frontline policy for the colonial government. Governor Gattisbeck outlined a 12-plan policy for education to be implemented by an educationist committee whose terms of reference included a long list of detailed matters and whose program of action extended all the way to 1930. The plan was to provide a first-class secondary school, a teacher training college, and a university college. It was the first authentic effort by the colonial authority, the native intellectuals, and the chiefs to provide high-quality education for all children in the Gold Coast. The entire program was given such necessary stimulus upon the arrival of J.E.K. Agri, a Ghanaian from Anomabo who had spent 20 years studying and teaching in the United States. The foundation of Achimota School was laid in March 1924, and soon thereafter, Reverend Fraser of the Trinity College, Ceylon, was appointed principal. Agri returned to become the vice principal. They both selected the staff, and Agri's eloquence and advocacy towards native education has gained legendary status. Agri it was who said, "If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation." Kwesi Agri had not just led the making of Achimota, he had sown the seeds of a great people for a great nation.
Kwesi Agri, one of the founders of the Achimota School project, wrote with stunning clarity, and I quote, "Don't tell me what you know, show me what you can do." Fate and fortune have placed us with the responsibility and the penalty of Achimota. The products of Achimota School have always been active vessels in the formation of this nation's history, for better or for worse. We have a legitimate claim to much of what Ghana celebrates and a burden of responsibility for much of what it condemns. 90 years is a long time. It must be a period of some reflection.
So the story of Achimota and the setting up of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital became the epochal occurrences of the 1920s and the 1930s. The story of Achimota continues to make history relevant to today's leadership in Ghana. In this photograph, Reverend R.C. Bloomer was leaving Achimota after being the first principal. He was returning to Australia and he took a photograph with male and female prefects of July 1939. The lady seated to the right of Reverend Bloomer, circled, is Adelaide. She became Adelaide Akufo-Addo, wife of the second president of Ghana and mother of the 8th president of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. 2 seats from her is the lady in white, now circled, Victoria. She later became Victoria Chematin and is mother of Mr. Alan Chematin, the Minister for Trade and Industry in Ghana. To sustain the development in education and health that he had brought about, Governor Gordon Gudgesberg designed an economic model that will pay for it and also be profitable to the imperial government in London. This model made the Gold Coast a producer of raw materials such as will be controlled and traded by the imperial government. Part of the resources thereof will be applied to pay off the project and the other part to finance the colonial administration. The imperial country will then develop the raw materials to tertiary products and sell to the colony and across the world. Sadly, this kind of model is still the standard nearly 100 years after Gudgesberg.
This Ghana, where we mobilize our own resources for the future, breaking the shackles of the Gudgesberg colonial economy and the mindset of dependency, bailouts and extraction. It is a Ghana beyond aid.
The 1920s ended on a sad note with the death of Kwesi Pratt, one of the early successful nationalists and founder of the West African National Congress. Kwesi Pratt was succeeded by Dr. J.B. Dankwa, a lawyer and philosopher who was forced to enter politics to fill the vacuum that Kwesi Pratt's death had created. He, Dankwa, took over the 1927 Youth Conference and carried the torch of liberation through to 1947 when he met George Alfred Grant, and together they drew up the plan for the national liberation in political terms, being to create self-government in the shortest possible time. One of the major achievements of the Youth Conference under the leadership of Dr. Dankwa was the effort they made to secure a united Gold Coast between the colony and Ashanti. Ashanti is a 300-year-old kingdom in central Ghana. The imperial authority had in 1943 promoted a statute entitled the Ashanti Advisory Council. The purpose of this council was to establish a separate legislative council for the Ashantis. In opposition to this, Dr. Dankwa and the Youth Conference drew up a 400-page memo entitled Things to Change in the Gold Coast and presented it to the joint provincial councils of the Gold Coast, the colony and the Ashantis. A 4-man committee was formed to advise on the constitutional changes. That 4-man committee included C.K. Akukosa, A.W. Kojo Thompson, R.S. Blay and J.B. Dankwa. The result was that the Burns Constitution of 1946, for the first time, regarded Ashanti, then including today's Bunahafo region and part of today's Western region, as part of the colonial territory. The other hero of this effort was the Asantehene, Osei Ajiman Prempeh II, who, upon hearing Dankwa speak on the changes recommended, invited him and 3 others to a meeting in Kumasi to hear out the argument and convince himself that joining the colony was the right thing to do for the new nation. At last, he seemed convinced by Dr. Dankwa's advocacy and agreed that Ashanti should be part of the colony to form the new nation. If the 1946 Ben's Constitution had a separate legislative assembly for the Ashantis, independence for Ghana may have been frustrated, and the old colonial strategy propounded by Lord Lugard in Nigeria, called divide and rule, would have impeded the progress of the struggle. But Dr. Dankwa was there at the right time, with the eloquence, the circumstance, and the ceremony to achieve unity under the Ben's Constitution of 1946. Thus, the Ben's Constitution of July 1946 prescribed direct representation by the Africans, but it was still authoritarian in outlook, and Dr. Dankwa called it outmoded at best. The Gold Coast now seemed ripe for self-government based on the strength of the intelligentsia and a widely educated population, as well as cocoa economics, which gave a healthy balance sheet.
But I think the cocoa hold-ups were a very striking demonstration of the economic power of the organized cocoa farming movement, because at the end of the Second World War, Britain had a huge shortage of dollars, having the cost of paying for the Second World War, essentially, borrowing a lot from the US and having to repay them, while British industry had been reoriented towards the war. And in this context, the great thing from a British point of view about cocoa was that it earned lots of dollars. The biggest market was the United States. And that meant, I suppose, two things. One was that there was an argument for retaining Ghana as a colony because it was being very useful. On the other hand, it also meant that Ghana was too valuable to take risks with politically.
The momentum around the demand for self-government in Ghana in the 1940s affected the sub-region. Here in this video, prominent Nigerians traveled to London to ask for self-government from the British Imperial Authority.
We have come to the United Kingdom as delegates of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, chosen by our people, in order to demand for a more democratic constitution, to modify 4 laws affecting our lands, minerals and chiefs, and to request the British government to grant us more political responsibility to enable us to take an active part in the management of our affairs within the framework of the British Empire.
These were the very distinguished Nigerians that the world was initially exposed to. They were proud, highly intelligent, and on a mission, both for Nigeria and for Africa. They granted interviews and gave speeches in full agbada, and people took them seriously.
The Guard of Honor is mounted by the Nigeria Regiment, many of whom, like the Queen's husband, wear the Burma Star.
That is why everybody run. Everybody scatter. Some people lost some.
After the difficulties with the Constitution of 1946, Sir Alan Burns and Lady Burns were recalled to London, and they were replaced by Sir Gerald Creasy and Lady Creasy. By the time of the arrival of Sir Gerald Creasy, the Gold Coast was a modern society and very ready for self-government. The military of the Gold Coast had been well trained for decades and was now ready to defend the Gold Coast by sea, by land or by air. Social life was bustling, and the British and the intelligentsia as well as the chiefs related cordially, attending social functions together all the time in Accra and in Kumasi. Even the football rivalry between Ghana's 2 greatest football clubs, Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, had begun, and it was staged at the very highest level to be seen by governors and some of the most influential people in the society. The outstanding matter in the Gold Coast was then the political machine to achieve self-government. This was created in 1947 on the 4th of August at Salt Pond in consequence of a meeting between Dr. Dankwa and George Alfred Grant, who was a principal initiator of the United Gold Coast Convention, what would become the second political party in Ghana after the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, which was also formed on 4th August 50 years earlier.
He saw that there were so much trouble everywhere, so he wanted the white people to go away. He wanted to sack them. So he called Dankwa and asked him if he could get about 6 lawyer friends of his so that they could sit down together and discuss. I remember some of them. I remember Kwaje, Obichabelamte, Lawyer Blay, Lawyer Williams. They had the meeting at Father's house in the dining room, and we always, the children in the house, when we saw these people coming, big people coming, we line up on the veranda just to see them. We didn't hear what they were saying, but we wanted to see them. So we were all, as soon as they started coming, we all lined up at the corridor there. Surprisingly, when I come on holidays from school at that hotel, they used to have all these meetings and so on. So I enjoyed it.
The leaders of the UGCC continue to enjoy cordiality as they plan to take over the reins of government. It was decided that one of the members of the UGCC was to be a full-timer running as General Secretary to spread the philosophy of the UGCC around the country.
Then Akwaji said he had a friend in London. And Father said, write to him and ask him if he would like to come. And then Akwaji wrote to Nkrumah, and within a month a letter came to say that he would like to come. So Father gave Akwaji £100 to send to him to come. As soon as he got the money, he came. And Father sent his car to pick him at the harbor, from Takoradi Harbor. And he came and stayed in our house for some time.
My father, Professor Nketia, was a very good friend of Nkrumah. And they were in the African Union together. And they met in London University. My father said that when Nkrumah was coming to Ghana, they met at the dining table and he said, Kwabena, I've been invited to be secretary for UGCC. And he said he was surprised because Nkrumah really did not have Ghana as he said, it was Africa. Anytime they spoke, it was Africa, the bigger vision. Africa this, Africa must unite, Africa. So when he said he had been brought, Power Grant had brought money for him to buy a ticket. I'm going to Ghana. I was like, really?
Sometime after his arrival, disagreements occurred between Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Dr. J.B. Dankwa in terms of philosophy, in terms of plan, and in terms of action.
When they started their office at Sopol, then Dankwa saw a letter that Kwame Nkrumah has written to the Soviet Union, and he said they didn't want to deal with the Soviet Union, so he shouldn't write to them. At that time, Kwame got upset and stop talking to Dankwa.
Before the disagreements reached the height, the riots of 28 February 1948 had occurred and had supplied sufficient oxygen to the liberation struggle. The riot itself was sparked by indiscriminate shooting of protesters who sought better retirement conditions after fighting in the Second World War. 3 gallant soldiers, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte and others were killed at the crossroads in Accra. The riots led to the arrest of the leaders of the United Gold Coast Convention, who later became known as the Big Six. The Big Six were thus invited to appear before the Watson Commission that led to the formation of the Kwesi Committee, which was charged to draw up a constitution for the colony to replace the Alan Burns authoritarian constitution. This constitution was to have a fully elected legislative assembly of Africans only. The work and publicity around the Kwesi Committee was so wide that they were mentioned at every public event, including here at the coronation of King Take Komi in 1948.
The old polo ground at Accra, capital of the Gold Coast colony, British West Africa, is the scene of a memorable occasion in the history of the Ga state. Today, for the first time, a new Ga paramount chief is to be presented to the governor at a durbar. In the past, new chiefs were always introduced to the governor at the official residence, Christiansborg Castle. But now it's a public event. The people of Accra are able to witness a ceremony that is very dear to their hearts. Many chiefs attend the ceremony, each under his state umbrella and wearing his traditional robes. The procession moves to the sound of drums, the firing of rifles, and the chanting of tribal songs. It's a day of rejoicing. The Ga Manche, in whose honor the reception is being held, is on his way. He is Ni Taki Komi II, who is elected to office in December 1948. On one side of the ground sit civil and military officials and their wives, and a large number of guests, both European and African. Among them are the chairman and members of the Kwesi Committee. Among them are the chairman and members of the Kwesi Committee. Among them are the chairman and members of the Kwesi Committee.
The circumstances of history has determined that the 8th president of Ghana is a direct descendant of 3 of the Big Six. His father, Edward Akufo-Addo, who was also president of the Second Republic. His maternal uncle, William Ofori-Atta, who unsuccessfully ran for president in the Third Republic, and his grand-uncle, Dr. J.B. Dankwa, the doyen of Ghana politics.
Nkrumah and Dr. Dankwa didn't agree at all on some things. But before he left UGCC, unknowingly, he had his secret meetings with some young men, and he schooled them that when they saw Dankwa, they should insult him. So one day, they had a meeting at father's room, and suddenly they heard a lot of noise. So father went to the window to see what was happening, and as soon as they saw father, they stopped the noise. Then when father left the window, they started again. So Dankwa got up and also went to the window. How they insulted him. They had a song that they sang. Shall I sing it? Dankwa, Kwame Nkrumah yawodan. Dankwa, Kwame Nkrumah yawodan. Nyawan wakran mofia botiribaya. Dankwe, Kwame yawodan. Nyawan wakran mofia botiribaya. Dankwe, Kwame yawodan. That's the song they sang that day. And they started hooting at the people who were having a meeting at Father's office.
Whilst the Kusi Committee's work was pending to create a constitution for Ghana that would lead to full independence, the disagreements between Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Dr. Dankwa broke the front of the only political party, the United Gold Coast Convention. This led to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1949 forming a new political party, the Convention People's Party. It was presented as a mass organization and it won the elections produced out of the constitution in 1951.
Accra, capital of Ghana, went wild with joy when Dr. Nkrumah was released from political imprisonment in 1951. His enthusiastic followers had elected him to power. The independence of the former Gold Coast colony was thereby assured.
Dr. Nkrumah thus formed the first all-African government and became the leader of government business. Upon assuming office as leader of government business, Dr. Dankwa wrote to Nkrumah congratulating him as follows.
My dear Kwame, this is a glad occasion. You have fought a good fight and triumphed for the justice of our cause. Your imprisonment and your release are symbolic of the conquest over imperialism. You may have made mistakes, as even the greatest do, but you have passed through a baptism of fire, a spiritual fire, and you have suffered bodily in the cause of our motherland. May God bless you. Yours sincerely, J.B. Dankwa. But what was the main difference between Dr. Dankwa's self-government in the shortest possible time and Dr. Nkrumah's self-government now? We can find the answer in a letter Dr. Dankwa wrote to Dr. Nkrumah as follows. The ball that was set rolling in Sekondi and Sulpon in 1947 culminated in the Watson Commission of 1948 and the Kusi Committee of 1949. I appeared before both the Commission and the Committee, and the international recognition achieved by me as the doyen of Ghana politics has never been disputed. The Watson Commission recommended that the people of Ghana were fit to achieve independence within 10 years, and this actually happened almost on the dot, namely March 1957, 10 years from my meeting with George Grant. That was the shortest possible time. It could have been made shorter if, for instance, you had accepted my amendment for a declaration of independence as a substitute for your motion of destiny by which you asked the British to grant us self-government. But you rejected my amendment on the ground that we would, if it was accepted, thereby forfeit our British goodwill. Had my motion for declaration of independence been accepted by you, as was the case in the Sudan, we could have had our independence in 1954. That is to say, 110 years after the Bond of March 1844. As it is, the event came in 1957, 113 years after the Bond. But all this is a matter of history. Independence is won at last, and what we do with our mother Ghana, our sweet Ghana, is the heaviest of Ghana's burdens today.
So independence in the shortest possible time could have been earlier than independence now. This irony may be resolved by considering the fact that once Dr. Nkrumah had won the elections and led the government in 1951, the narrative about independence now may have changed. Dr. Nkrumah may have wanted more time to determine other matters, especially the geographic makeup of Ghana. Thus came the Togo plebiscite, by which part of Togoland, originally a German territory, but after the Second World War became a French territory, also now became part of the Gold Coast. The 1951 up to the 1954 and even including the 1957 Independence Constitution were all development oriented, and Ghana implemented a public and private sector industrialization policy to global admiration.
Then he brought in Arthur Lewis to write for Ghana the first 5-year development plan to guide the economic development of this country. So in his plan, he encouraged the government to set up industries.
government and private enterprise factories turn out the goods which Ghana needs. This is the Development Corporation's nail factory at Accra. With more and more building, more and more nails. Nails to make fine furniture in another government-sponsored enterprise. Great opportunities exist in many other fields. The international investor will survey possible markets which extend beyond Ghana itself to the vast awakening territories of Africa north of the equator. The people want furniture and household articles of all kinds. And moreover, they want the best that their money can buy. In the field of heavy engineering, the Ghanaian worker has proved his ability to master the many skills and techniques necessary. Today, more and more kinds of production are being undertaken, and more articles of every kind are bearing the title Made in Ghana. A good example is the lorry assembly plant at Tema. Here records have been broken by Ghanaians with no previous engineering experience. Production is already double the expected figure, and the workers may be recognized in a new skilled category, to be known as motor assembly technicians. Every day that passes sees another 7 chassis complete. Experience has already shown that in industry, the Ghanaian is an able, cheerful and willing worker with a passion for learning and advancement. Cigarettes too are manufactured in Ghana. At the Pioneer Tobacco Company's factory at Takoradi, local leaf, over 50% of it, is blended with imported tobacco to suit all tastes. 550 people are employed, and of the 42 management staff, 17 are Ghanaian. Each of the making machines can turn out 1,250 cigarettes a minute, which, with a bit of arithmetic, gives the plant an output of nearly 10 million cigarettes a day. Apart from its contribution to the consumer market, the company spends some £75,000 a year on developing the local tobacco crop. And in 2 years, output has risen from 17,000 pounds of leaf to over 2 million. A modern canteen serves the workers. And after a good meal is an ideal time to enjoy the results of one's labors. A lot of cigarettes needs a lot of matches, and a lot are made at the Caddy factory. 600,000 gross a day.
The name Ghana, found by Dr. Dankwa, was used as the new name for the new nation. Independence was achieved, and Dr. Nkrumah became the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Ghana.
I, Kwame Nkrumah, do solemnly swear that I will well and truly exercise the functions of the high office of President of Ghana. So help me God.
Black Star of Africa unfurls. 2 men are waiting to greet the Queen's envoy, arriving to set the seal on Ghana's freedom. Sir Charles Arden Clark, Governor General of Ghana.
And our first Prime Minister, Kwame Nkrumah.
I was then in Legon as a student reading economics, and we had a lot of high-level delegates from all over the world coming to Ghana's independence. I was an aide-de-camp to the Thai ambassador in London who represented Thailand at the independence celebration. We had Nixon representing the United States. And
many others. But the students in Legon were asked to act as aide-de-camp for these representatives of their country.
Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim. We will be jolly, merry and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day.
I offer my warmest good wishes for the future happiness of Ghana. May God bless and guide your endeavors.
At the State House that night, princess and prison graduate were dancing together.
One year after independence, the government passed the most obnoxious law in the history of Ghana. It was called the Preventive Detention Act. Many Ghanaians, including frontline opposition members and later even senior government ministers, were arrested under the law or fled the country for safety. Ghana was becoming an unhappy land to dwell in. Fathers were afraid of their friends and were even afraid of their children. Incidentally, and quite controversially, this obnoxious bill was signed into law by the British governor at the time.
I was then a student in Ghana when the Preventive Detention Act was enacted. And 58, 59 academic year, I was the president of NUCS, Legon. We had passed a resolution condemning the Preventive Detention Act. And I remember Nkrumah was in Lagos, a state visit, when the news came out. It was announced at 1 o'clock news, and Nkrumah happened to be in Lagos. I hear he was extremely annoyed. And as when he came back, he asked his education minister to look out for those students and to punish us.
Whilst the dust had not settled on the horrendous application of the Preventive Detention Act, an Act of Parliament received again the governor's assent on the 20th of February 1960 to allow the existing Parliament to constitute itself into a constituent assembly to write a new constitution that would usher Ghana into republican status, with the president who will be given wide-ranging powers. The wide-ranging powers of the president and the fact that Dr. Nkrumah as president had no fixed tenure, no opportunity for a general election, were all captured in Article 10 of the 1960 Constitution. Dr. J.B. Dankwa mounted a famous and spirited challenge to the legitimacy of the Preventive Detention Act at the Supreme Court in Ghana, where he locked horns with the Irishman Godfrey Bain, who was at the time Ghana's Attorney General. Dr. Dankwa argued that the PDA, as it was called, was an anti-human rights law and therefore needs to be outlawed and expunged from the books. He argued further that the president's solemn oath of office to protect all Ghanaians and not to discriminate on grounds of politics was to be construed by the court as a Bill of Rights. The court, however, upheld the argument of the Attorney General and held that to the extent that the law had been passed as an act of parliament, it was superior to the Constitution. The court further held that the president's solemn declaration did not constitute a Bill of Rights. Later on, Dr. Dankwa was arrested under the PDA and was sadly to die in prison. The doyen of Ghana politics, the man whose intellectual industry brought Ashanti and the colony together to form the new nation, and the man to whom the new nation owed its name, died in prison, suspected to be an enemy of the nation that he had helped to create. By 1964, Ghana was now a one-party state. Most of the president's focus was on continental and global affairs. The ambition towards African unity had consumed the best energies of Dr. Nkrumah's government. On the 24th of February 1966, while the president was away on an international trip, the soldiers and police struck to remove Dr. Nkrumah. The first coup d'etat in Ghana had been recorded on 24th February 1966. The coup was led by a military general named Kotoka.
Newspaper headlines report the spectacular overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, and jubilant crowds celebrate his downfall in the streets of Accra. The military coup in Ghana is the 7th successful revolt in Africa in 9 months. But none of the ousted governments have survived as long as Kwame Nkrumah.
Leader General Arthur Nkrumah, father of 22 and former mission school teacher, a man who's never concealed his dislike of Nkrumah. Before dealing with Mr. Amir, he had more important business.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to introduce my colleagues to you, some of the members of the National Liberation Council. As you've already been told, I need no introduction myself. But on my left here is the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Harley, who is the Deputy Chairman of the National Liberation Council. On my right is Major General A.K. Kotoka, who is the second member or the first member of the National Liberation Council. We have called you here this morning for one specific reason, and that is this coup was carried out completely because of the things that had happened in Ghana and because of the tyranny and the populism of Kwame Nkrumah, the deposed president. Everybody in Ghana was fed up with it. And therefore you could see the spontaneous result which followed the coup. You would have seen when you were coming probably thinking that Ghana would have been put under curfew or all other things, but nothing was done. There was no brain behind it. It was work from us and from within, without the aid of anybody, any foreign country or any country.
The coup leaders prepared Ghana towards the Second Republic and the new constitution. Under the constitution, elections were held under the universal adult suffrage. Dr. Nkrumah's party, the CPP, was however banned from participating in the election. The results led to the swearing-in of Prime Minister Kofi Abrifabuzia, a professor in sociology from Oxford University, and President Akufo-Addo, who had been Chief Justice and also an alumni of Oxford University.
We cannot be economically independent unless the economy of Ghana and the whole financial network is to a large extent in the hands of Ghanaians themselves.
My Lord Chief Justice, Commissioners, Nananum, Your Excellencies, Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Dr. Kofi Abrifabuzia, by the grace of God, Prime Minister of the Second Republic of Ghana, and request all manner of persons to recognize and acknowledge him as such. Appointing Dr. Busia as Prime Minister.
The government of the Second Republic was soon overthrown by a coup d'etat, which led Ghana to the Third Republic.
Long live the Ghana Armed Forces. Long live the revolution. Long live the National Redemption Council. Long live Ghana. As you go home, remember that the revolution continues unaffected.
The Third Republic Constitution produced an election which was won in the second round by Dr. Hilary Mann, a Foreign Service top official and who had also graduated from the School of Oriental and African Studies (SOAS) at the University of London.
And to do right to all in this manner of self-rule. I further solemnly swear that should I.
The Third Republican Constitution was also overthrown, and then came the Fourth Republican Constitution, which has now produced 5 presidents. The first president was Flight Lieutenant Rawlins. Mr. Rawlins gave sufficient stability to constitutional rule. Next was Mr. J.A. Kufuor, another Oxford alumni, who recorded high economic growth, growing the country's GDP from 4 billion to 16 billion, and also significantly discovering oil for Ghana. The next was Professor Mills, another graduate from SOAS, who was an apostle of peace. He produced first oil for Ghana, but Professor Mills was to sadly die in office. President John Dramani Mahama became the 4th president after Mills and was the first to win an election upon the first attempt after Flight Lieutenant Rawlins. The acceptance of constitutional rule now seems to be a part of Ghanaian life. Some people believe that the constitution, having been sufficiently tested on few occasions, had stood the test of time and had gained the confidence of the people.
Well, you know, the 1992 constitution was crafted in circumstances where we are undergoing a transition from military and autocratic rule to democracy and constitutional rule. So there are many people who feel that it was influenced a lot by Rawlins. So there are not transparent and inclusive. In most cases, the president appoints in consultation with the Council of State. The Council of State, many people feel it's more or less a lame duck. Nobody knows how it operates. 11 of its members are selected by the president, and nobody knows what advice it gives to the president and whether the president accepts its advice or not.
The other major challenge is the election petition of 2012. After the elections of 2012, the losing candidate decided to test the constitution and to file a petition against the declaration of his opponent as the winner of the election. The petition dragged for 8 months, and eventually a verdict was given in favor of the announced winner, President Mahama. The losing candidate did not appeal against the ruling. Instead, he gave a widely applauded concession speech.
In the circumstances, the overall effect is that the first respondent was validly elected and the petition is therefore dismissed. Our various judgments for the sake of convenience are handed over to the registrar of this court.
Whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict, so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, and in what I have done with my life thus far, makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it.
Eventually, as fate would have it, the losing candidate was to be elected in the 2016 election in a landslide victory to become the 5th president under the new constitution.
The president, as I've known him for several years,
is somebody who exhibits sheer tenacity. He's a very determined man, and the spirit of can do, the whole notion that nothing can be done once you put your mind to it. And over the years that I've known him, he's been somebody who's made references to his uncle J.B. Dankwa, to his father and mother, and the fact that they kept telling him that when you do one thing and you are not successful, you do it again, you try again, and you stay determined and get it done. So the whole notion and spirit of can do, having the capacity and the belief that if you put your mind to something, you will be able to do it. There's one thing that I believe which is about him, which has inspired a lot of us who followed him over the years, and it's a spirit and an attitude which motivates young men and women who've had an association with him.
I, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo,
do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the Republic of Ghana.
There is not much more I can say on the subject beyond wishing the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo well in this regard. He does not seem to lack much in terms of cerebral capacity. Success, however, will turn on how much his government can convert that cerebral capacity of his and of his team into impactful action.
That should I at any time break this oath of office,
I shall submit myself.
I shall submit myself
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
To the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
And suffer the penalty for it.
And suffer the penalty for it.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Well, what did you find? What did you see? What was good? What was bad? Send it to me on Good Evening Ghana official, and I will be able to respond. Okay, so we'll return to the studios on Thursday with another edition of the program. It's been great having you on this holiday, and it's been a long rest from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's been good. Thank you, President Mahama. Thank you. And thank you, viewers, for watching. It's been a pleasure. Good night.
There's nothing worse than your multi-bet missing, but nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver. Here's Kwame and your bet misses.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story.
But he needs not stay down for long.
Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
So what about what your papa
this is my secret. Give us pea capsules. Emma, I want to come from now on to me to my dear one pen. Give us pea capsules. Over you as a mama. Oh no, enemy lawyer.
And to lawyer no show bottom. Are you pro? Again, I'm upon a machine about Chiamwa as a Niji. No. You didn't know I can't. The friend give us cold capsules. Say yes, is Yarren the wall, so cold did you nip them when in our posa a mamma and my winja wouldn't give us cold capsules. Obey your free
lawyer.
Give us cold capsules.
And I give us pea capsules.
Hey, and they give us free. Capsules.
And remember what if you do what you do, Nkrumah, give us core capsules. A pay for a batter, one more menu for one and Quadawi if you do me.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and ARICOP brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua and the ARICOP with cocoa blends, palm blend and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP and ARICOP organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by Cocoa Board, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
There's nothing worse than your multi-bet missing, but nothing better than having it saved. Bet Saver.
Are you tired as a consumer in Ghana when it comes to issues that confront you as a consumer? Worry no more. Kofi Capital, I'm here to give you the information, all that you need to make sure that your right is protected as a consumer. We have too many laws and agencies that should protect the rights of the consumer. I'm here to give you the information that will help and assist you to get goods and services delivered to you without any worries. Watch the Capital Show on Metro TV.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Has Christianity always been one of the religions in the world to you?
Oh, hallelujah. Praise God. Christianity is not a religion, neither is it a joining of a church and doing the Christian things like praying and giving and so on. Hallelujah. Christianity is the outworking of God's own kind of life received into the spirit of a man. Whoa! This divine life in the heart of a man makes him righteous. It keeps him healthy, divinely guided in life, prosperous and victorious. It gives you the ability to enjoy intimate fellowship with the Father and have dominion on this earth. Hallelujah.
Yes, in every generation on the earth, God sends special messengers with you.
And the alliance has selected him. Sheikh I.C. Kwei, who had been candidate in that parliamentary, an MP in the same constituency in 1969 and I believe 1979, believed that the place was for him. So he was running a parallel campaign, even though he was MPP and he had not been selected by the alliance people. He said that was his seat. So Kwesi Pratt said, these selected candidates should step aside. I remember that very well. Now put everybody on again. No, I don't have much to say about Nkrumah today. Put everybody on again. Let me show them. So this is where we are coming from, viewers. We shouldn't be building a democracy where Ras Mubarak, whether he's right, whether what he's saying is true, should be able to say those things about Kwesi Pratt. Let's first see the video Kwesi Pratt put out that annoyed Ras Mubarak. Let's have a look.
Begin to look at expertise, people's commitment